Hello, my name is Madison Moy, and I'm doing my project on Leonardo da Vinci. First of all, who is Leonardo da Vinci? Leonardo da Vinci was born in the Renaissance age. He was best known as an artist, but what is not as commonly known was his work as a scientist and an inventor. He was unique when he applied science to every aspect of life. He developed many scientific discoveries. He was a secretive man and never published his ideas. Some of his famous inventions were the flying machine, the helicopter, which is an aerial screw, and the parachute. In the Renaissance ages, European artists took a closer look at what nature had to offer. They had with them the ambition to create realistic depictions of the world. For example, Leonardo da Vinci changed and developed the art world with his techniques and on linear perspective. Da Vinci's techniques built the illusion of depth and distance. The most praiseworthy form of a painting is the one that most resembles what it imitates, Leonardo da Vinci. As seen in this image, you can see the mathematical work put into creating this artwork. The artist uses a mathematical system relating to the horizontal viewpoint. These are lines that are created on a horizon to represent the viewer's eye to a point in the distance. One of his most famous works was in the Divine Proportion, which was a mathematical book by Luca Paoli. It talks about the mathematical viewpoint of an artist. And one of his most popular themes is the golden ratio and its function in art and architecture. The golden ratio was also known as the divine proportion, and it is equal to about 1.618. As seen here, you can see how the golden ratio works. Some artists view this proportion to make up the most beautiful shapes. One of those who thought this was known as Leonardo da Vinci. The golden ratio is seen in his work with Mona Lisa. Leonardo uses fumato, which uses a technique of soft and heavily shading modeling. It's famous because of the model's alluring and aloof expressions. Leonardo was one of the first painters to use something called the aerial perspective. It is seen in the Mona Lisa with the sensuous curves of the woman's hair and clothing aligning with imaginary valleys and rivers behind her. You could also see the blurred outlines and the graceless figure, and it represented a contrast of light and dark and an overall feeling of calm. And these are characteristics of the Da Vinci style. The success in this painting is seen by the overall harmony achieved in the painting. Especially apparent is in the sitter's faint smile, which reflects the idea of a link that connects humanity to something deeper, nature, which was a popular idea in the Renaissance era. Leonardo was an innovator. He was well known for many of his creations. He knew how to build and repair many types of machines, and he also found ways to invent new types of machines. He was a unique mind during this time that developed technologies that have never been seen before, and he also had a unique new attitude about machines. He learned how to each separate part of every machine worked, and then from there he could modify and improve its efficiency and create inventions from different machines and make new ones. Leonardo created the landing gear. It's a detail from his helicopter. It's a mechanism that consists of a prop and a ladder, but both of the prop and ladder were retractable. This is still seen today, and it's an effect of Leonardo's incredible innovations. Another invention by Leonardo da Vinci was a helicopter-like mechanism. It has a rotor which forces the upper fans to rotate, as well as lifting this device off the ground. And the wonderful fact is that helicopters today still use this technology. This machine was the precursor to the machine gun. It consisted of 3 sets of guns that were set on a rotating triangular drum. Each row of guns were placed on the side of a drum, and when the first set of guns fired, the force of the explosion would propel the guns back, preparing for the next set of guns to also be fired ready again. This invention is similar to the catapult. It's a stone thrower that has a base, a curved beam, gears, and a release mechanism. A stone would be put on top of the arched wooden beam, and then Leonardo's mechanisms would release it, and it's tightened within the gear. When the beam was released, the force of it would catapult the stone into the air. His inventions were used in war. This one was an armored vehicle that was designed with slanting angles that would deflect. It was also operated by man. It was moved by 4 strong men, and the vehicle was equipped with firing cannons all around its perimeter. His last invention consisted of a wheel and 4 crossbows, a shield, and also a stand for it. The wheel was turned by people walking on top of the wheel. An archer was firing inside the wheel as the crossbows came around. The arrows are fired through the stand, and the shield protects the men walking on the wheel. This was one of the elementary stages that led to the creation of the crossbow. As for Leonardo da Vinci's work in science, he took a liking to observing nature and asking scientific questions, as well as his ability to record it in journals. One of the ways he developed his skills in learning in science was dissecting cadavers of criminals and really observing how the human body worked, with the organs, the capillaries, and all the hidden parts of the anatomy. Leonardo was born a bastard of a 25-year-old notary, Ser Piero, and a peasant girl, Caterina. He was born on April 15th of 1452 in Vinci, Italy, just outside of Florence. His father took custody of him. In his father's home, Leonardo had access to all kinds of knowledge and scholarly texts. At the age of 15, he began an apprenticeship in a renowned workshop of Andrea del Verrocchio in Florence. Even at a young age, Leonardo showed great talent. He was a genius in everything he did and all the objects he produced in Verrocchio's workshop between the period of 1470 to 1475. One of his biggest breaks was when he painted an angel in Verrocchio's Baptism of Christ. Leonardo was so much better than his master that his master decided that he should never paint again. He stayed in his workshop until 1477. It was between 1485 to 1490 where Leonardo worked under the Duke. He was busy painting and creating and sculpting for the Duke, but he also had him design weapons, building, and machinery. He created many inventions and innovations during his time some of his greatest works, some of them including flying machines, studies in geometry, mechanics, municipal construction, architecture. He created many advanced weapons that led to tanks, crossbows, and other war vehicles. It was also during this time where he would first study the anatomy, and he would work on cadavers and dead bodies to understand how the human muscles work. Between 1490 and 1495, he began recording his studies in ridiculously illustrated notebooks with great detail. He had themes covering four main things: painting, architecture, the elements of mechanics, and human anatomy. These studies of sketches were collected in various codex and manuscripts that are still worth something today. They were sold over 30 million for the Codex of Leicester. For many years, he traveled around Italy and did work for them. He traveled for a year with Williger's army as a military engineer, and he was also commissioned to do many artworks. One of his most famous paintings began at 1503, where he worked on the Mona Lisa. Most notably was his time of March of 1516. He was offered the title of Premier Painter and Engineer in Architecture of the King by Francis I in France. In later years, he suffered from the paralysis of the right hand, although Leonardo wrote with his left hand, and he was still able to draw and teach as normal. As he lived out his life, he finally died on May 2nd, 1519, in Cloque, France.